Hello, my name is Lee Presser. This is my show. I speak frequently to very interesting people. Some of these conversations are so exciting, so intellectually stimulating, I thought others might like to listen in. This is the reason we started recording Conversation with Lee Presser.
Welcome to Conversation with Lee Presser. Well over 1,000 homes will be foreclosed upon this month, next month, and the month after throughout the St. Louis area. Families whose financial situation changed after buying their homes will soon be without their house. Some will lose their home and still owe the bank a lot of money. Some will lose their home and walk away with a full release from their debt. If you're behind on your mortgage, if the bank or loan company has sent you a legal notice, if you feel there is nothing you can do to save your home, listen up. There may be a way to get out without wrecking your credit for 10 years. Notice I said maybe, not there is a solution. Our guest today is L.K. Wood. He's here with some ideas you may want to consider. Mr. Wood has spent his professional life in the real estate profession, having followed his father into the family business. Chip Wood, welcome to Conversation.
Thanks, Lee.
So, up until a few years ago, your main business was selling homes.
Yes, sir.
People would come to you, they want to move, they change their job, whatever, and you would go out and find somebody that wanted to take their house, and that was the normal process for a real estate person, right?
For most of my career, I would sell a house to a young couple, and a few years later they would make money and move to the next level, take the profit and go to another home. And what we've been experiencing here for the last 5 or 6 years, of course, is a decline in property values, which has caught a lot of folks upside down in their property, meaning they owe more than what it's worth.
So if they need to move out, where they paid $150,000 or $200,000 for their house, and they have a mortgage, and they're mortgaged all the way up to here or here, they can't get that anymore.
If they truly can't afford the home anymore through the massive unemployment or underemployment wave that the country has endured, if they can't make the payments and they owe more than what it's worth, then they're fearful of losing the property, then they should choose a short sale. This is something that is not brand new to the marketplace, but very, very much something that was not widely used, discussed, or understood.
What do you mean by short sale? And that term's been out there, but I'm not sure everybody understands what that means.
If you take the term short and say at the time of closing, the sales price is short the full amount required to pay off all the indebtedness, taxes, including real estate commission, and of course the loans that may be against the property.
So this is somebody who wants to buy your house that you're maybe behind on, but they're not willing to pay you what all you owe.
Well, let me back up and just go back to what you opened up with. There's 1,000 people that are going to lose their home, and the fact is that over 97% of them in St. Louis County have never even tried to sell their home, and it's because I believe that they don't understand the short sale process and how beneficial it would be. See, the truth of the matter is the banks don't want your home. They want you to sell your home if you can't afford it, and they will offer you incentives, financial incentives, to help you sell your home. At no cost, no obligation, they will negotiate with you. There's 3 things that you have to accomplish. Number 1, after you've determined that you simply can't afford the home, it's a bridge that you have to cross. I need to sell. Number 2, then you contact your realtor. Your local realtor will help you do this. You have to convince the lender that in fact you can't afford to stay in the property. And number 3, you have to convince the lender that you're not sitting on a pile of gold someplace, and it really is as simple as 2 or 3 months financial statements, bank statements. And then number 4, the last thing is, after you've found a buyer, the realtor has to convince the bank that this is truly what the property is worth on today's market. If those 3 or 4 items can take place, you can accomplish a short sale. How you will benefit as a homeowner by accomplishing a short sale versus allowing the bank to foreclose on you is it will dramatically affect your credit to the better if you go after a short sale. Number two, your future, most folks don't realize this either, that the bank has the right to recover. In other words, if you and your missus decide that you can't afford your home and, like so many people do, abandon the property, then you've basically surrendered, and the bank has the right to take your property and then come after you for any losses that they may have incurred in the process.
People actually just walk away when they can't afford to pay, and they just take their stuff and leave?
I want to thank you, because I think what you're doing here this morning is truly a terrific service to the public, and I'm glad that you asked me to help, because I think what happens is folks get depressed and they feel hopeless. They don't know who to turn to, and because of the fact that this is such a new paradigm, this is a new environment that we're living in. I mean, most folks never had to go through things like this. If you call your attorney, the attorney most of the time will tell you file for bankruptcy, and you don't want to do that. Maybe you're too embarrassed to talk to your family. Maybe you're too embarrassed to admit the situation that you're in. So even if you talk to your local or family realtor, if you don't tell the realtor what your situation is, just let me emphasize, at no cost to you, the bank will take, in some cases, substantially less, pay the realtor's fees, pay your back taxes, and give you, in some cases, believe it or not, relocation expenses. In other words, they'll help you move. But so many folks...
you're out. Your debt to that house is terminated. You don't have the house.
Correct.
But you're not followed for 10 years with this debt hanging over you.
The bank has the right to haunt you for 10 years and file what's called a deficiency judgment and try to pursue and hound you for money that they have lost, unless you try to attempt and secure a successful short sale.
So if you do get another job, when you do get another job, not if, and it's a good job, and you're making good money, then you could wind up paying for the house that you don't even live in anymore.
Exactly. There's so many benefits to trying to, like Winston Churchill said, never, never, never give up. Please reach out. We can help you do things that will make your life substantially better. It's a bad situation, but it will get better, and what you do right now will dramatically affect how soon things get better for you. According to an organization called Short Sale Experts, they will tell you that if your credit is good and you begin to fall behind and you affect a short sale, your short sale might only affect your credit by as much as 75 points. A foreclosure will last and hang with you for years and cost you a great deal of damage to your credit. So it's dramatically better for you to deal with this now and in most cases, walk away with a complete release from your lender and have nothing to haunt you going forward.
How come this isn't something that people know or have been taught in school, that this was a possibility? Is this like something new since the crash in 2008?
The vast majority of people that were buying real estate were used to the property values going up. And I'd just like to point out, again, this is just my opinion, but I don't think we have a real estate problem. I think what we've been enduring or suffering through is an employment problem. The vast majority of the families that I am fortunate enough to work with, the scenario is almost always hours have been cut. A big portion of their salary was bonuses, profit sharing from their company. One or the other gets laid off, the company gets sold. So they were in a position at one time, and oftentimes for very many, many years, where they were making good income, paying their bills. And what we've been seeing here recently is this is working up the economic ladder. In other words, foreclosures typically fall first on the weakest financially amongst us. So what we saw initially when the market went down in 08 and 09 was first-time homebuyer homes, people who didn't have much equity, people who didn't have much seniority on their jobs. They were the ones that we saw first hit the market. But now what we're seing is very affluent, older A third of the homes that are up for foreclosures are unfortunately owned by baby boomers like me, and it's unfortunate, but they've been basically punching themselves out for 2 or 3 years, using up their savings, their 401ks, their pension plans, waiting for the economy to turn around. So it's across the economic landscape right now.
So now the things that you're talking about here with us today, and this program is seen both in Missouri and in Illinois, does what you say apply in Illinois as well?
I'm not familiar with Illinois. I'm only working on the Missouri side, but I can tell you that the short sale process is nationwide.
Okay.
As far as the individual banking laws, I can tell you that the national banks, the 5 or 6 national banks, have all come to this simple conclusion. If you have fallen behind in your monthly payment and you can't afford the house anymore, they don't want it back. The banks have learned in the last 3 or 4 years that if they foreclose on your property and take it back, it's going to cost them 30% more than if they work with you, the homeowner, to help
To
you
try and sell it to
facilitate
somebody
the
else.
sale.
That's
correct.
So somebody else, so the short sale process requires somebody else who's actually willing to buy your property. Unless
Correct.
you can find you, I guess, and other realtors, unless you can actually find somebody who's willing to buy and pay for and get a loan for this property, this process doesn't work, does it?
In any marketplace, in any environment, economic environment, price will determine the marketability of that property. So at some price, that home is marketable, regardless of the condition or the location. At some price, there's a buyer for it.
And so all you have to do is get the bank to agree that that price
Correct.
is as much as they're ever going to get for that property.
I want you to think and just do a little reverse thinking. If the property is worth $100,000 today, and that's truly the market value, and the bank forecloses on the property, and they've found out through their last 3 or 4 years of study and experience that because of the home has been abandoned and listed as a foreclosure, that property will now only be worth 70, then it's in the bank's best interest to help you get 100 for the property, even though you might owe 150. The vast majority of clients are, I don't want to say guilty of old-time thinking, but it was a different world that we lived in, and they assume that common sense still applies. It doesn't.
So because they signed a contract for a particular amount, they've grown up to believe that you have to pay that amount
That's
before
correct.
the contract
That's correct.
is expired.
In some people, it's a case of honor. In some people, it's a case of, in most cases, lack of knowledge that this is available to them. And they make assumptions like the bank will never come down. The bank will never take that much less. They'll see that their neighbor sold their home for, substantially less than what they owe on their home, and assume that that's all they're going to get, and the bank will never take it. Yes, the bank will. Yes, they will.
Now, have you found differences? You mentioned large national banks, and I think you said 5 of them. Have you found a difference in working with the large banks compared to like the local banks?
The thing that I'm mostly trying to get at, the point that I'm trying to get across to you is these are general terms. Every lender, you could have, for example, a monthly payment that you're making to Bank of America, and your next door neighbor could be making his payment to Bank of America. And depending upon who Bank of America's investor is, because what I'm trying to say is, although you're making your payment to Bank of America and I'm making my payment to Bank of America, it could be 2 completely different lenders or investors, and Bank of America is only acting as a loan servicer, and they're basically collecting our payments for their different investors. So even within those 5 big banks, the loan situation, the workout will vary from lender to lender. On a local level, if you're dealing with a commercial lender, for example, you own a restaurant, you've pledged your home as additional collateral when you opened the restaurant, almost nothing of what I just said regarding the short sale process would apply. That local lender is going to react completely differently than the national lender, in that if the local lender believes that there's equity in your home, then they'll move a lot faster to protect the bank's assets. Or in some cases, they'll work a lot slower and negotiate with you and be even more flexible because they're in your local community. They know, they're more hands-on, they're more knowledgeable. The lenders have a responsibility and an obligation to their shareholders and their stockholders, and they have to do what's in their best interest. It stands to reason, if you just hold on to that thought for a moment, when you break your contract, and believe me, I don't want to be a defender of the banks, but when you break your contract and stop making payments to that bank as per your agreement, the bank automatically assumes an adversarial position. They have to do what's in their own best interest. And they've learned that it's in their best interest to work with you if you will work with them. The statistics are very, very, very simple, and they've been learned the hard way over the last 3 or 4 years. But I want you to take heart. If you cooperate, if you supply the data required, if you are truly in need, the banks 85% of the time will work with you, and you will benefit. Sometimes financially, but definitely credit-wise.
Mm-hmm. Now, in 2012, St. Louis County passed a law. And in this law, it says that if a house in St. Louis County is going to be foreclosed on by a bank or a loan company, that that the owner, the homeowner, has the right to not an appeal,
Arbitration.
Arbitration. Thank you. Talk a little bit about this process for those people who live in St. Louis County.
St. Louis County, in August, hired a company that people can file and petition for arbitration. They have, in effect, another chance to bring the bank to the negotiating table. This gives people an additional 20 days, gives the bank an opportunity basically to cool off, look at the numbers again, gives the real estate agents to try to find some additional information, and in most cases, our early results are that it's dramatically helping people stop the foreclosure and effect a short sale. Mm-hmm. So bravo, St. Louis County, the county government at work. The process that we have to go through is usually 4 to 6 months. It's been getting better. It's getting shorter. So if you start the short sale process and you have data that may be 3 or 4 months old, a lot of times when you get to the arbitration process, it gives the realtor the opportunity to reassess and come up with additional data, more foreclosures is what specifically I'm talking about, to convince the bank that the market's changed. Mm-hmm. Business is picking up. The good news is volume is increasing. The bad news is, as we sit here today, just CoreLogic is a company that provides, it's a data mining company that provides information to local banks and real estate companies about facts, foreclosures, and thus. Right now there's 1.2 million that are 30 days late on their monthly payment. There's another 1.2 million families that are 60 days late on their payments. And there's another 2.5 million people that are 90 days or more that are delinquent in their monthly payments. Now, just to give you some perspective, this past summer, summer of 2012, we had yet nationwide to pass the 4 million mark of foreclosures. And right now, as we sit here, there's 5 million people that are in the queue ready to be foreclosed on.
So there's more foreclosures to come than have already occurred? Is that
correct.
What you're saying?
That's
now,
correct.
what do you make, one of the reasons that St. Louis County said that they were passing this new arbitration bill, was that people complained that they couldn't find anybody at the bank who they can get a straight answer out of. And you're saying that the banks are ready to negotiate if you'll just sit down with them. Can you just describe what's going on here?
The banks have been overwhelmed with foreclosures. This is something new for them as well, because according to the Post-Dispatch and the Journal, and they wrote an article in July of 2008. 2007. Believe it or not, 97% of the people nationwide were current on their monthly payments, and in St. Louis, it was 99.5% of the people were current. So dealing with such a flood, an avalanche of foreclosures, overwhelmed the banks. They were hiring people by the droves. With one gentleman told me his desk was in the hall at Bank of America, was in the hallway. He had a stack of 50 files, and he was sharing a telephone because it got that bad. Mm-hmm. They themselves were trying to learn how to deal with this.
They got it down now?
Well, it's getting better. It's getting better. You have to keep in mind, again, I hate to be defending the banks, but they were just so swamped with this new horrible economy that was sinking so many people's ships right and left. They were doing the very best they could to slow the process down. At one point in time, not too many months ago, the average time in St. Louis between your last payment and the actual sale on the courthouse steps was 20 months. Mm-hmm. And it was because, very simply put, they didn't have the manpower or the ability to foreclose on as many people. So they were trying to work with folks. So, can you make half your payment? Can we help you modify your loan? If you can make half a payment for 6 months, maybe you'll qualify for something. And they just couldn't take on that many foreclosures. The forecast, though, Lee, and this is again right from CoreLogic, that in the next 3 to 5 years there's going to be 6.5 to 8 million more foreclosures. Now, before you go, holy cow, I want you to keep something in mind. I've been selling real estate for 39 years, and I've seen the real estate business proclaimed dead 5 times with the ups and the downs. The real estate business turns really hard right and really hard left, and it gets really bad quick, and it gets really good quick just as well. And I don't know that anyone could tell you what's going to happen 5 years from now. I believe right now the real estate, St. Louis Association of Realtors has announced that our units are up double digits in sales. So the marketplace is starting to come back alive again, and we could see a lot of health return to the economy very quickly. But we still have a huge volume of homes, and a lot of people are in trouble, and that isn't going to turn around quick.
You told me about something that happened to you. Somebody that you were dealing with wound up, I guess he was not making his payments. The bank was talking about foreclosure. You contacted him, and then the next thing you know, he was on Channel 2. Tell that story.
The state of Missouri is a trustee state, and what that means is there's a middleman between the bank and the lender. That's the trustee. The trustee is supposed to make sure that everyone is treated fairly in the transaction. So once the bank has decided they can no longer come to terms with you, they contact the trustee, and the trustee begins the foreclosure process. It's a 3-step process. Number one, the trustee would contact you, the borrower, and say, according to the bank, you're $20,000 behind, and is this accurate? We'll give you a certain time limit to cure, bring the payments current. The second step would be a demand, which would be, okay, you haven't brought your payments current. Now the whole entire amount is due. We'll give you 30 days to find additional financing elsewhere. If that doesn't take place, which in most cases it can't, then we we have no choice but to go to the courthouse steps and auction your home off. While this process is taking place, it's posted on the legal newspapers. Notices of default, appointment of successor trustees, the 21-day advertising that's required to take place. It's still not too late, so what I'm doing is I'm attempting to reach out to these folks who are in this chute, so to speak.
Before it's sold.
Before it's sold, and try to contact them to encourage them to work with me and let me explain the benefits. Oftentimes, the vast majority of the folks that I am successful in contacting believe that they're in the process of modifying their loan with their bank. In that while it's being advertised for sale, or that there's going to be an impending sale, they're still being told by their lender that they're being considered for a loan modification. And this gentleman that lived in South County, very nice home, on his front porch steps, was glad to see me, and assured me that his lender was going to be coming to terms with him and do a loan modification, that he wasn't going to have to sell his home. And about 2 weeks later, he was interviewed on Channel 2 after having just had his home taken away from him that day. And the comments that he made on Channel 2 was that Mr. Wood was right. He said, I should have listened to him, because he did everything the bank told him to modify the loan, and he still lost his home. And that's really, really unfortunate, because he could have, had we gone to work, most probably affected a short sale.
Mm-hmm. We're down to like the last minute or two here. If there is just some little bit of advice that you would like to give, or last minute you'd like to say before we're done, please say it to the folks listening now.
Your home, your family is counting on you. You and your spouse need to know and believe that there will be a future that will be brighter than today. Things will always get better. They're getting better now. Don't be embarrassed, and please don't be bashful. There's realtors all over the United States, in both Missouri and Illinois, that are doing this every day, learning and helping folks. Reach out. They're there for you.
Mm-hmm. You've been successful at this. I mean, this has actually worked. You have helped people get out from the contract and save themselves.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This actually does
over
work.
and over and over again.
And other people have done this as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is realistic. This is not like say pipe dream that you're here trying to sell people.
85% will be successful if they would only just try.
Thank you very much for being with us today. I certainly appreciate it.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, you're very welcome. I've been speaking with L.K. Wood, a man who has been in the real estate business, as he said, for 39 years. He followed his father into the business. He knows what he's talking about. Contact him or another qualified realtor if you are facing foreclosure. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. And don't forget, we're on YouTube, so that you can show this program to your friends. Thanks.